Well, friends, this is the first of what I'm calling Fireside Chat. We're doing these as a series of ways just to stay connected to our church and hopefully to provide short ways for people to connect with God in the midst of this really difficult time. What's happened in the world around us is really at the core of this is our natural rhythms have been upset. Those of us who either go to work every day or maybe have other activities that they engage in, not being able to drop your kids off at baseball practice or just go for coffee. Those little things that we do, maybe more for entertainment's sake than really the need for food or anything like that. Being able to go sit with a friend at a restaurant, all those things are things that we do throughout our lives that really kind of let the pressure out of our lives. Connecting with other people is a way where we stay engaged with other people and even with God through that. And so in this difficult time, not only are our routines upset, but you also have folks who are dealing with unemployment or at least temporary layoffs or reduced hours. Like I said, there's no outlet for leisure or entertainment. And then we're all becoming siloed because the government, and rightfully so, is telling us we all need to stay in our homes. Well, we're not created to spend that much time under the same roof with even the most special people in our lives, our spouses, our children. And so the tension levels in our homes are rising. That's going to lead to an increase in domestic violence and child abuse, as some folks that are not used to this sort of routine, this sort of setup, have no outlet to deal with some of the things that they're feeling. Also, in addition to all this, is we've got limited opportunities for worship. We can't gather and pray, and we might be watching a sermon video online or a live stream or whatever, but we really have no ways to connect with God in the traditional ways. And so I want to offer to us today some ways that we can connect with God in the midst of this pandemic. I want to remind us that the people of God are a communal people. So going all the way back to the call of Abraham, back in Genesis 12, when you see the people, they were oppressed in Egypt, they came out as a people from Egypt. They went into the wilderness, and then as they experienced eventually their own political independence, they went through exile as a people. An exile of the north in Assyria, and then the exile of the south over in Babylon. But God's people collectively experienced exile, and then in the days of Jesus, of course, the people of God were under the rule of the Roman Empire. And so persecution, difficulty, challenges as a corporate people are nothing new to the people of God. They may be new to our generation of disciples, but in the grand scheme of things, the history of God's people going back some 4,000 years, this is nothing new. So as you're in your homes and you're trying to find ways to survive, to connect with God in the midst of this craziness, here's some things we can do. First, I want to encourage us to find a quiet place to pray. That means away from the other people in your house, turn off the TV, turn off the internet, and just find a few moments a day to be quiet, to quiet the noise, and listen to God. A second thing we can do is we can pray. This probably goes without saying, but the folks we need to most be praying for one, are the victims of the coronavirus outbreak. We need to pray for our national, state, and local civic leaders. We need to pray for healthcare workers. Boy, they are on the front lines, and they're risking their lives every day that they're around this horrible disease. We need to remember those who are unemployed, those who are feeling the financial strain of all this. Another thing we can do is we can still take a walk outside. Now, we need to abide by state and local guidelines, but just getting out of the house and getting some fresh air will do great things for our soul. Another thing we can do is we can stay busy. It is the spring. It's the time for spring cleaning. So use this time to be productive around your house. We can also practice acts of love with our family. When was the last time you just did the dishes when you didn't have to be asked, or or do something nice for your children. Spend time with them. We can play board games. It's kind of old-fashioned when all of us have games and apps on our phones, but that's another thing we can do to connect with those in the house where we live. We can still use our phones and the internet to stay connected with loved ones that may not live under our same roof, especially as we've been discouraged from face-to-face contact. And then finally, I want us to remind us to avoid the use of alcohol and drugs in this time. I heard a sobering thing on the, no pun intended, on the news this week that Texas was number one in alcohol sales and social media references per capita since the outbreak. Alcohol is one of those things that it takes the things that we're already feeling, whether it's anxiety or anger or frustration, and it amplifies that. And so if we're struggling with some anxiety and difficult emotions, adding alcohol or drugs to the mix is not a healthy way for us to deal with what's going on inside of us. I want to leave you with a scripture real quick. Psalm 139 says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my thoughts. See if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." That's a great reminder as we're dealing with anxiety and tension and frustration. God is the Prince of Peace. And we need to pray that right now in our time that our King of Glory would be, in fact, our Prince of Peace. Take that self-assessment. Ask God, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my thoughts, and see if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." Thank you, and God bless you in these difficult times.